to be essay questions. This part is going to be 70%. Okay, so the essay questions are very important. So you will complete the exam in class on reporting, which is going to be next week, 27th of May. All answers must be written clearly in English because it's going to be like you need to write your answers on the answer sheet. So please practice your handwriting a little bit as well. Just clearly write your English on the answer sheet. Okay, so about the time that we are going to begin for the exam, we will begin at 9:30. Okay, just to make sure that everyone is here, you will get your answer sheet. Everything is good, and then I will start the exam. But anyway, the exam will start at 9:30. So if you are late, you will not be able to take the exam. It's not about zero or anything. You're not allowed to take the exam after 9:30. Okay? Shall I ask you to sign the agreement that you agree what I say today? I'll print it out and ask you to sign. Okay, but anyway, just after 9:30, you're not allowed to come in the classroom and you're not allowed to take the final exam, okay? 9:30. And if you come earlier, it is okay, you can sit down, relax, get ready for the exam. Okay, section 1 is going to be the definition of the key terms. It's going to be 30%. So you will be given a list of 15 key terms from the courses. Every week I have all these key terms. Some of them repeated, that means they are very important. Like for example, the status quo, one China policy, one China principle. These are sort of the things that you can actually hear from the international news very often. From the exam sheets, there will be 15 key terms, but you only need to choose 5 terms and write a concise definition for each. Okay, so 5 out of 15. There's no need to select more because it's not going to add 2 points. So 5 is going to be enough. Okay, just 5. So if you have one more, like you have 6, but I will only count the first 5 that you have on your answer sheet. So the 6 is not going to be counted for graded. Okay? So for each chosen term, you should clearly define the term in your own words, explain its relevance to cross-strait relations, and also maybe provide one concrete example, very short example. And if there's no example, it's just about technical definitions, then there's no need to have example. So the length guidance is no more than 5 sentences because it's just about definition. Sometimes it's maybe just 3 sentences. Okay, so the grading focus is accuracy and clarity of the definition, and also ability to connect the term to broader course themes, and also use of specific examples where relevant. And for the second part, it's going to be the essay questions. This is a part where you will definitely pass your exam or you will definitely fail your exam, so this is very important. You will be given 10 essay questions covering the major themes of the course. Every week we have history, political economy, security, military, legal status, great power rivalry, and also the comparative cases, like what we had from last week about Russia, Ukraine compared with China and Taiwan. So from these 10 essay questions, you only need to choose 2 questions to answer. So 35% for each essay question. Okay, so again, it's the same with your definition. The maximum is 2 questions. So if you have the third one is not going to be included for grading. Okay, the more is not the better. So you just focus on the 2 questions out of the 10. Okay, so for the essay questions, what you should do is to present a clear thesis argument that directly answers the question, and also organize your answer into an introduction, well-structured body paragraphs, and a brief conclusion. So here, what you need, I would suggest like 4 paragraphs. First one is of course the introduction, and then the second and the third paragraphs are going to be the discussions or the debates, or maybe you have different opinions in these 2 different paragraphs. If it actually has like different opinions, and then the fourth paragraph is going to be your conclusion. So this is the framework that I would suggest you to do, especially within the time periods that you have for your exam. So the 4 paragraphs for the essay question answer is the classical framework in the answer. Okay, introduction. The second one and the third one is going to be the debates or the discussions, and then your conclusion. Okay. So use specific evidence from lectures, require readings and case studies. So these are very important because, as well as say, you did your presentations, you did the readings, you definitely, well, at least you read the articles, right? So write something, try to remember something from the things that you read and include them into your answer and also analysis, just to show me your effort, okay? Not just, well, even AI or ChatGPT or Gemini help you to summarize the paper, but you still can remember what this AI help you, what the contents are, and include them into the answer. Where appropriate, compare different perspectives. Well, if you're trying to get a higher scores from these essay questions, then there is very important that you have debates or discussions or comparisons from different perspectives. Okay, so this is this point is trying to help you if you want a high score. The length guide, no strict requirements. If you can write very fast, maybe you can have a longer discussions, but if you're kind of very slow in terms of writing, then maybe you need to consider the time to whether if you have enough time to finish the 2 questions, but in maybe 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. Our exam is going to begin from 9:30 till 12 o'clock, so you will have enough time, I think. Okay, so the grading focus is the strength and clarity of your argument, whether if this is really argument or it's actually empty, and also the depth of analysis and use of course concept. This is what I say, just show me your efforts that you did read the articles and also the books. Quality and accuracy of empirical evidence, some of the cases or any examples that you have in your discussion. Organization, coherence, and writing quality. So this is something, the basic requirement from the answers. Okay. So these are the grading focus. And for the general policy, this is a closed book, closed notes exam. Okay. And you may not collaborate with other students during exams. You cannot talk to each other. If you have any questions, you need to raise your hand. Answers that rely only on personal opinion without reference to course material will receive lower marks. This is very important. This is very important because some of the topics that we discussed in class is actually just very general political issues or political economic issues that you can get some of the information from the news that you watch every day. But if your answers mainly rely on these public information or the news without any uses of cases or theories or anything from the articles, the readings, or the books, you are going to get a very, very low mark. Because the exam is not trying to see whether if you know about the question, it actually asks you to write something based upon what you read. So these are very different. Because I know some of the questions can be very easy for you just to write something or write even something like 500 words. no problem at all. About cross-strait relations, about China-US relations, it's not difficult for you, you're already in your senior. But I just want to say that if your answers rely only on your personal opinion or rely only on public news without reference to any course material, is going to receive a very, very low mark. Okay? And it's highly likely that you are going to fail. So write legibly and clearly label which questions and terms you are answering. So this is also very important. Please also write down the number of the questions that you are going to answer. Okay? So just make it clear that I'm not going to confuse with which question you are actually going to answer. Okay, so the final exam must be completely individually. All mobile phones should be silent or turned off. So no mobile phones, please, on your table next week on the day when you are having your exam. And any form of cheating, plagiarism, or unauthorized collaboration will result in a grade of 0 for the final exam. I don't want to see this, And may be reported according to university academic integrity policies. Okay, so this is something serious, so I just want you to comply with the rules. It's already, the final term, the last week for your university life. So if you prepare very well, then you just write whatever you have, just don't cheat. Prohibited behaviors include but are not limited to using unauthorized notes or devices. No devices, no computers, no iPads, any kinds of tablets or computers or even your mobile phones. And communicating with classmates during exam. No. Copying answers using mobile phones or sharing exam content. No, please. Okay. So last week I would ask you to sit separately, not to sit together, but separately. In between you, maybe just one space, empty. That will be easier for me to monitor the exam. And also another thing is that I hope you just have your pen or erasers or whatever, but not like the rulers or other papers or other stationery. That is not necessary to write down your answers, because when I was a kid, some of my classmates, they just write down the answers on the rulers, very small words on the rulers or the erasers or anything. No, don't do that on your stationery as well. Okay, so just bring the necessary stationery for the exam, just your pen or eraser, and that's it. No more stationery on the table. And also don't write down the answers on your hands or your clothes or whatever. Don't push me to check your clothes or check your hands, okay? Okay, because I'm saying this because it's going to be a lot about writing, because it's about the essay questions. And I was actually thinking about to ask you to write essays, but then essays is just going to be generated by AI. It's a waste of time. So then I decided to give you the exam. Okay, so these are the general rules. Any questions or anything I forgot to mention about? Maybe you can think about that, and later you can ask me if you still have questions about the general policies. Okay, so here are the sample essay questions, and this is actually not the sample essay questions. These are the essay questions, and for each week there are 2 questions. So total here are 20 questions. So I'll just randomly select 10 for the final exam. Okay? So here I actually have the instructions for you as well, what you need, and also suggestions how you can actually organize the discussions. I will give you the guideline, and the things that you need to do after the class is trying to find the answers and fill it out. Okay? I know you are going to ask AI to help you, but another thing is you will still need to remember it. So the thing is, don't write down your answers on hands, on clothes, or any stationery, okay? Okay, the first question is about the triple threat of cross-strait analysis: security, economy, and identity. So you will see the question like this. There will be a statement. Cross-strait study is no longer a subfield of China study, but a distinct discipline defined by the tension between security, dilemma, economic interdependence, and shifting identity. So what I want you to do is to evaluate this statement, drawing on Effendi. This is the reading regarding the evolution of the field, the Asian Survey Foundation overview, and the specific analysis of economic relations. Analyze how these three dimensions interact. So does economic integration act as a stabilizer or as a source of vulnerability in the current cross-strait framework? Okay, so it's a very long question. This is why it's an asking question. So you need to divide it, how you're going to answer the question, okay? Evaluate the statement. So what I want you to do, what you need to do in your conclusion is to evaluate the statement. That will be in your conclusion. And in the middle, you will need to have the debate. Well, if you have other readings, it is okay as well, as long as it's related to the topic. You can use other readings as long as it's accurate. Okay, so what I want you to do is the specific analysis of economic relations, and especially based upon these three dimensions: security, economy, and identity interactions. So in the middle of the two paragraphs, this is where you need to discuss and also debate. What you need to do in your introduction paragraph, just write down your understanding of the question, your understanding of the statement, what you understand, okay? This is going to help you to answer your question. There will be different understanding of the question. There's no 100% correct answer of your understanding of the statement, but in your first paragraph, what you need to do is the understanding of the statement, how you understand it, and also the definition of some of the key terms here. For example, security dilemma. What is security dilemma? What is economic interdependence? And also what is shifting identity? This question is kind of like integrated of everything, because this is actually from week one, a very general and broad topic. So the week one could be one of the difficult one. So this is the suggestions for you. Reading synthesis metrics, you can use Effendi for the map of how research has moved from pure security to multidiscipline. Asian survey as an intro, Asian survey as an economic dynamics, and then your analytical framework. I want to force you to move beyond simple military analysis, because security is not just about military threats, it's also about economic interdependence, as what we mentioned about all these FDI in China and also Chinese FDI in Taiwan. We talked about it in some of the weeks already. So then the best framing for the debate is actually the liberal view and also the realist view, because the realist view is about power struggle, the liberal view is about economic interdependence, right? So some of the key elements maybe you can think about: the map of the field, categorized to define the current state of cross-strait studies, and also the economic paradox. What is the dynamics of economic relations? Is it because of demand and supply, or because of the supply chains, or what it is about silicon shell or dependence trap? Well, it actually all happened in history, right? And then finally, synthesis is argue which of the three dimensions is currently the most dominant driver of the relationship. Okay, so these are the guidelines. Well, this is just suggestions for you how to organize your answer. But of course, if you have other ideas, it is okay. The second question for the first week is about the domestic constraint and Taiwan factor in U.S.-China relations. So again, this is going to be the statement about policy choices in Taiwan Strait are rarely the result of pure strategic calculation. They are the high products of domestic political constraint and evolving role of the United States. So here, what I want to see is about the role of the United States in the cross-strait relations, the Taiwan factor. So I want you to evaluate the extent to which internal politics in Taipei and Beijing dictate the parameters of U.S.-China relationship. So how does the Taiwan factor serve as both domestic tool for legitimacy and an international pivot point for the two superpowers? So this is a very current topic as Donald Trump just visited China. They were talking about Taiwan issue, and I don't know what you think, but what I observed is that Trump is actually very upset. It seems like Taiwan is not really a good card for him to play. He was kind of trapped or constrained. He could not really win over from the talk. That's why he was quite upset. So again, this is the suggestions for you how to frame your answers about the readings, how you use the readings, and also your analytical framing about the strategic triangle, the US PRC, and also Taiwan. So here are the comments that the key elements that I suggested you to include, and also the framework that you can use in your answer. Okay, so this is for the first week. And the second one is the legacy of discontinuity from empire to the 1949 retreat. For week 2 and week 3, because these two are the historical history-related topic, so there will be just only one for history. There is no much about analysis. So for the history before 1949, the statement will be the legal and political status of Taiwan is not merely a modern dispute, but a product of historical discontinuity, the shift from a king frontier to a Japanese colony, and finally to a KMT stronghold. So then, I would ask you to evaluate how the historical transition from the Qing Empire to the 1949 split created undermined legal status of Taiwan. So this is why history matters, okay? So here are the suggestions for the readings, how you can use the readings, and also the framework, how you can use the framework, what you should do, and some of the key elements that you should include into your answer. Imperial versus national sovereignty, the 1949 inflection point, and the most important of all is the past dependency theory. We talked about it when we were in the historical class. And for week 3, it's about the Cold War. The Cold War history is very important for the modern cross-strait relations and also the triangle relations. So here, we are going to see, I'm trying to ask you to analyze how the Cold War environment shaped the U.S. normative and legal framework, and how did the shift from Taiwan as a strategic military outpost to a liberal democracy fundamentally alter the historical narrative of the two Chinas. So this is what's more important is the shifting of the U.S. Diplomatic policies, especially after 1980s and 1970s and 80s, and that also changed Taiwan's status as well. So how does and what does all these change make the historical narrative of the two China? So these are the reading suggestions, how you can use the reading for which part of the arguments, and also the analytical framework. And some of the key elements that you need to include into your discussion. Cold War logic, what is the Cold War logic, and the 1979 pivot, democratization as a variable. So for week 4A, What I see from old civilization to new democracy, the identity interest paradox. So this is part of very important political transition in Taiwan in history. So you will have the statement again, for decades the assumption was that economic integration would eventually leads to political conversion. So this is actually what some of the academics and political officers or political leaders believed back in 1980s. So based upon this statement, I want you to evaluate how the transition from an authoritarian community state to a pluralistic democracy has redefined Taiwanese identity. So this is very important. The transition of the political power and how this actually shaped and changed Taiwanese identity. So these are the suggestions for how you can use your readings in different sessions, and also the framework for your identity nexus, and some of the key elements that you should include into your analysis. What is the transformation in Taiwan, and the identity priority or the constraint analysis. And for the second question, for 4B, again, it's about electoral cycles, about elections. So you will also have the statement, and the question will be evaluate how party competition dictates the pace of cross-strait relations. Okay, so this one is going to focus more on the elections and how does the discourse of time serve as a tool for political mobilization, and how do local electoral results impact international perceptions of Taiwan's will to fight. Okay, so this is about the election on the cross-strait relations. And these are the suggestions for the readings, how you can actually use the readings in different paragraphs, and also the framing for you. And then the key elements, the party evolution, the temporary strategy, and also the 2020 case study, 2022 case study. So for week 5 is the tiger leading the dragon, Taiwan's agency in China's rise, about economic development, especially economic relations between Taiwan and China. So you will have the statement again, Taiwan was the tiger that propelled the Chinese dragon into the global economy. So based upon these statements, I want you to see how does the historical contribution complicate modern efforts by Taipei to de-risk or decouple from the mainland market. So there was a part of the history because of the supply and demand, and also the lacking of labor supply in Taiwan. So these are the reading synthetic metrics and also the suggested analytical framework here. The key elements for this question would be the tigers, what are the tigers? The 4 East Asian tigers, you need to mention what this. And the adversary partner tension, what is China's strength now, create security vulnerability for Taiwan. And then the synthesis of power, argue whether Taiwan's historical role as the lead tiger gives it more leverage in modern negotiations than a simple trade deficit would suggest. So, well, Taiwan used to be a leader, leading Chinese economy to the world, but does it really make it actually vulnerable when China's economy is rising? And for week 5, the second question would be the FDI. The cross-strait economic flows are not purely market-driven. They are highly sensitive to political shifts